What happens when the world's most outspoken broadcaster meets a prince who's burned every bridge back to the royal family? You won't believe what unfolds when Piers Morgan sits across from Prince Harry in what becomes the most explosive television moment of the year. This isn't just another celebrity meltdown. This is a full-scale nuclear confrontation that ends with security being called and a royal storming off, set in absolute fury. Before we get into this incredible story, make sure you hit that subscribe button and drop a comment below, because you're not going to believe what unfolds when these two titans of controversy collide in the most brutal way possible. Last night's episode of Piers Morgan Uncensored was supposed to be another high-profile celebrity sit-down, but what actually transpired was nothing short of television warfare. From the moment Prince Harry walked onto the set, you could feel the electricity in the air. The tension was so thick it was practically suffocating everyone in the studio. Morgan, never one to pull his punches, had clearly come prepared for battle. His research team had armed him with every controversial statement, every perceived hypocrisy, and every damaging revelation from Harry's recent media blitz. Meanwhile, Harry appeared confident, almost cocky, settling into his chair with that familiar smirk that has infuriated British tabloids for years. "Prince Harry, thank you for joining me," Piers began, his voice carrying that familiar edge that regular viewers know means trouble is brewing. "I have to say, it takes some balls to show up here after everything you've said about the British media." Harry's expression shifted almost imperceptibly, but seasoned Morgan watchers could see the first crack in his composed facade. "Well, Piers, unlike some people, I don't run from difficult conversations," Harry replied, his American accent now fully pronounced after years in California. The opening exchanges seemed almost cordial to the untrained eye, but those familiar with Morgan's interviewing style could sense the trap being set. Every question was loaded. Every response was being carefully catalogued for the inevitable demolition that was coming. "Let's talk about your book, your Netflix series, your wife's podcast empire," Morgan continued, leaning forward slightly. "You've made quite the cottage industry out of trashing your own family, haven't you?" "That's not what we've done, and you know it," Harry shot back, his jaw tightening. "We've simply told our truth." "Your truth?" Morgan's eyebrows shot up in that theatrical way that his audience loves. "There's only one truth, Harry. Either something happened or it didn't. Either someone said something or they didn't. This whole my truth, your truth nonsense is exactly the kind of woke bullshit that's destroying honest discourse." The studio audience, carefully selected for maximum drama potential, began to murmur. Harry's media training kicked in as he tried to maintain his composure, but viewers could see his hands gripping the arms of his chair just a little too tightly. "I think what you're really upset about, Piers, is that we didn't play by the old rules anymore," Harry said, his voice taking on a harder edge. "We didn't sit there and take the abuse from papers like the ones you used to edit. We fought back." Morgan's laugh was sharp and humorless. "Fought back? Is that what you call running away to California with your tail between your legs? Is that what you call taking millions from Netflix to air your family's dirty laundry on television?" The first real flash of anger crossed Harry's face. "We didn't run away. We made a choice to protect our family from the same machine that killed my mother." "Don't you dare!" Morgan's voice dropped to a dangerous whisper that somehow carried more menace than if he had shouted. "Don't you dare invoke your mother's memory to justify your money-grabbing, attention-seeking circus act." The studio fell completely silent. Even the camera operators seemed to hold their breath. Harry's face went completely white, then flushed red with barely contained rage. "What did you just say to me?" "You heard me perfectly well," Morgan continued, sensing blood in the water. "Your mother would be ashamed of what you've become. She spent her life trying to modernize the monarchy from within, and you've spent yours trying to destroy it from the outside for a Netflix paycheck." Harry stood up so fast his chair nearly toppled backward. "You have no fucking right to speak about my mother," he snarled, all pretense of royal composure completely abandoned. The audience gasped audibly. Morgan's producer was frantically signaling from behind the cameras, but Piers was in his element now, the predator who had found his prey's weakness. "I have every right to speak about a public figure who I knew personally," Morgan replied coolly, not moving from his chair. "And she would be disgusted by the way you've weaponized her death to justify your betrayal of everything she stood for." Harry's hands were shaking with fury. She would be disgusted by vultures like you who built careers off her misery, who hounded her to her grave, and who are still trying to profit off her memory 27 years later. At least I'm not her son selling family secrets to the highest bidder. Morgan shot back without missing a beat. The confrontation was spiraling completely out of control now. But this was only the beginning. The real fireworks were yet to come, and what happened next would shock even the most cynical observers of celebrity meltdowns. The prince was about to show just how far he'd fallen from royal grace, and Morgan was about to push him over an edge from which there would be no return. What unfolded next was a masterclass in psychological warfare that left viewers questioning everything they thought they knew about the former working royal. Morgan, sensing he had Harry exactly where he wanted him, decided to twist the knife even deeper. "Sit down, Harry," Morgan commanded with the authority of someone who had spent decades dismantling celebrities on live television. "We're not finished here." "Oh, we're fucking finished all right," Harry spat. But something in Morgan's tone made him hesitate. The predatory gleam in the broadcaster's eyes suggested he was holding back his most devastating ammunition. "You want to talk about your mother's legacy?" Morgan continued, his voice now carrying the measured cadence of an executioner. "Let's talk about how you've systematically destroyed every relationship she held dear. Your brother, your father, your grandmother, all casualties of your scorched earth campaign for American celebrity status." Harry remained standing, his whole body trembling with barely contained rage. "You don't know what the fuck you're talking about." "Don't I?" Morgan's smile was razor sharp. "I know that William won't even take your calls anymore. I know that your father changed the locks on all the royal residences. I know that you missed your own grandmother's final months because you were too busy playing victim on American television." The studio audience was completely silent now, sensing they were witnessing something far beyond typical celebrity gossip. This was personal destruction happening in real time. "You want to know what's really pathetic, Harry?" Morgan pressed on, rising from his own chair now. "Your mother fought the establishment from the inside because she believed the monarchy could change. You've just given up and run away like a spoiled child who didn't get his way." "She didn't have a choice," Harry exploded, his voice cracking. "They were going to destroy her either way. And what's your excuse?" Morgan shot back immediately. "You had every privilege, every opportunity, every advantage she never had. You were the spare who could have done anything, said anything, changed everything from within. Instead, you chose to become a Netflix puppet dancing for American dollars." The accusation hit Harry like a physical blow. His face contorted with pure hatred as he took a step toward Morgan's desk. "You think this is about money? You think any of this is about fucking money?" Harry's voice was raw now, all pretense of media training completely abandoned. "They tried to destroy my wife the same way they destroyed my mother. They leaked stories. They planted photographers. They turned the entire British press into a weapon against her. And so you ran," Morgan replied with devastating simplicity. "Instead of fighting, instead of using your platform to change the system, you grabbed the money and ran to California to whine about it on podcasts." "We didn't run," Harry screamed, his face now completely flushed with rage. "We made a strategic decision to protect our family." Morgan's laugh was cold and cruel. "Strategic decision? Is that what you call abandoning your duty to chase celebrity status? Is that what you call selling out your own family for a Hollywood lifestyle?" Harry was breathing heavily now, his chest rising and falling like he'd just run a marathon. The cameras captured every moment of his psychological unraveling, every crack in the composed facade he'd maintained through years of carefully orchestrated media appearances. "You want to know what's really strategic, Harry?" Morgan continued, sensing his opponent was on the ropes. "What's strategic is how you've managed to alienate every single person who ever loved you in pursuit of fame in a country that will forget about you the moment the next scandal breaks." "Shut up," Harry whispered, his voice barely audible but filled with menace. "Your brother had to choose between you and the crown, and he chose the crown. Your father had to choose between you and the institution, and he chose the institution. Even your own grandparents." "I said shut the fuck up," Harry roared, lunging forward toward the desk. Security guards, who had been positioned discreetly around the studio, tensed and took half steps forward, but Morgan waved them off with a subtle gesture. He was enjoying this too much to let it end now. The truth hurts, doesn't it? Morgan said, his voice now deadly quiet. The truth that you've burned every bridge, destroyed every relationship, and betrayed every person who ever gave a damn about you, all so you could play victim on American television. Harry's eyes were wild now, darting between Morgan, the cameras, and the studio audience. His carefully constructed public persona was crumbling in real time, revealing something much darker underneath. You have no idea what we've been through, Harry said, his voice breaking. You have no idea what they put us through behind closed doors. Then tell us, Morgan challenged, leaning back in his chair with theatrical casualness. Stop hiding behind vague allegations and unnamed sources. Give us names, dates, specifics. Show us the evidence of this systematic campaign of destruction you keep claiming happened. Harry's mouth opened and closed several times, but no words came out. The silence stretched on for what felt like an eternity, with millions of viewers watching a prince struggle to justify years of accusations he couldn't substantiate. That's what I thought, Morgan said with quiet satisfaction. All noise, no substance. All allegations, no evidence. All victim, no accountability. The psychological demolition was complete, but Morgan wasn't finished. He had one final torpedo to launch. One last devastating blow that would push the confrontation into territory that would have the entire world talking for months to come. Morgan reached into his desk drawer and pulled out a manila folder, his movements deliberate and theatrical. The studio lights caught the predatory gleam in his eyes as he opened it with exaggerated care. You know what, Harry? Since you're so keen on truth-telling, let's talk about some truths you haven't shared with your American audience, Morgan said, his voice carrying the quiet menace of someone about to detonate a nuclear bomb. Harry's face went completely pale. What the hell is that? These are phone records, Harry. Financial documents, meeting logs. Morgan's smile was pure malice as he spread several papers across his desk. All the evidence of your little arrangement with certain members of the American media before you even announced your departure from royal duties. The studio fell into a silence so complete that the hum of the camera equipment seemed deafening. Harry's eyes widened in genuine panic. You were planning your media empire months before you told your family you were leaving, Morgan continued, his voice rising with theatrical indignation. While you were still collecting taxpayer money, while you were still living in palaces, you were secretly negotiating deals with Netflix, with Spotify, with American publishers. That's not, Harry stammered. But his voice had lost all its earlier fire. Oh, but it is, Morgan pressed on relentlessly. You want to talk about betrayal? You betrayed your entire family for money you hadn't even earned yet. You were shopping around family secrets while still attending state dinners. Harry lunged forward and snatched at the papers, but Morgan pulled them back with practiced ease. Are those even real? Harry demanded, his voice high and desperate. Real enough that your lawyers will be very interested in them, Morgan replied smoothly. Real enough that they show you were planning your victimhood narrative while still cashing checks from the Crown estate. The revelation hit Harry like a physical blow. His whole body sagged as if the fight had been knocked out of him. But then something darker took its place. A cornered animal's desperation. You bastard, Harry whispered, his voice filled with pure venom. You absolute fucking bastard. How did you get those? The same way I got every other story that ended careers over the past 30 years, Morgan replied with casual cruelty. I'm very good at what I do, Harry. And what I do is expose hypocrites who think they're above scrutiny. Harry's composure finally snapped completely. Years of pent-up rage, frustration, and desperation erupted in one volcanic moment that would be replayed endlessly across social media platforms worldwide. Fuck you! Harry screamed at the top of his lungs, sweeping his arm across Morgan's desk and sending papers, water glasses, and promotional materials crashing to the floor. Fuck you and fuck your show and fuck everyone who watches this shit. The studio audience gasped in unison. Security guards moved forward, but Harry was beyond caring about anything now. His face was twisted with pure hatred as he pointed an accusatory finger directly at Morgan. You think you've won something here? You think destroying me makes you some kind of journalistic hero? Harry's voice was raw and breaking. You're nothing but a parasite who built a career on other people's misery. Morgan remained completely calm, which only seemed to enrage Harry further. I'm simply holding you accountable for your choices, Harry. Something your family should have done years ago. My family? Harry laughed, but it was a sound devoid of any humor. My family are the ones who fed you these fucking documents. They're the ones who want to destroy me because I had the balls to tell the truth about what they're really like. The accusation hung in the air like a toxic cloud. Even Morgan seemed momentarily taken aback by the implication that the royal family themselves might be complicit in Harry's public destruction. Are you seriously suggesting that your own father and brother leaked confidential documents to damage you? Morgan asked, his journalistic instincts overriding his desire for pure confrontation. I'm not suggesting anything, Harry snarled. I'm telling you that they've been trying to destroy me since the day I married my wife. They leaked the bullying allegations, they planted the stories about our finances, and now they've given you whatever fake documents you're waving around to finish the job. The studio was electric with tension. Camera operators were frantically adjusting their angles to capture every moment of what was clearly the most explosive royal interview since Diana's 1995 panorama appearance. Morgan leaned forward, sensing the kill shot. So what you're telling me is that your own family has declared war on you? Your own blood relatives are actively working to destroy your reputation? Yes, Harry exploded. Because I wouldn't shut up and play their game anymore. Because I married someone they couldn't control. Because I chose my wife and children over their fucking institution. And yet here you are, Morgan said with devastating quiet, destroying yourself more effectively than they ever could. The words hit Harry like a slap. For a moment, the rage drained from his face, replaced by something that looked almost like broken recognition of the truth. But the moment passed quickly, replaced by a fury so pure it seemed to radiate heat. I'm done with this, Harry said, his voice now deadly quiet. I'm done with you. I'm done with this country. And I'm done with every single person who thinks they have the right to judge my choices. He ripped off his microphone so violently that the wire snapped, throwing the equipment down with enough force that it shattered against the studio floor. You want a story, Piers? Here's your fucking story, Harry said, backing toward the studio exit. A prince who chose love over duty, truth over tradition, and happiness over your twisted version of honor. Morgan watched with obvious satisfaction as Harry continued his retreat. Running away again, Harry? It's become quite the pattern with you. Harry stopped dead in his tracks, turned back one final time, and delivered his parting shot with the venom of someone who had nothing left to lose. At least I'm not a washed-up tabloid hack who has to destroy other people to feel relevant. Enjoy your ratings, you pathetic piece of shit. With that, Prince Harry stormed out of the studio, leaving behind overturned furniture, shattered equipment, and the smoking remains of whatever dignity he had left. The heavy studio doors slammed shut behind him, with a finality that echoed through the stunned silence. Morgan sat back in his chair, straightening his tie with theatrical calm as the cameras continued rolling. His smile was that of a predator who had just completed a successful hunt. Well, he said to the shocked studio audience and millions of viewers, I think that tells us everything we need to know about the current state of Prince Harry's mental stability and commitment to honest discourse. The explosive confrontation was over, but the fallout would reverberate for months. In less than an hour, the prince had managed to destroy what remained of his public image, validate every criticism that had been leveled against him, and provide enough soundbites to fuel tabloid headlines for years to come. As the credits rolled on what would undoubtedly become one of the most watched television moments of the decade, one thing was abundantly clear. Piers Morgan had achieved exactly what he set out to do, and Prince Harry had given him all the ammunition he needed to do it.